Right, so this is part two of my story of telling people about how I escaped a foster family. So this is part two of the story. I just told you part one just before. Um, so I've run away from the foster family, got as far as Wangaratta. Lo and behold, the coppers get me, and my journey just gets worse from there. I get arrested, I get dragged to the cop station, I get sat down on the chair, told to shut up, don't want to hear about it. The coppers back in the day didn't want to know about it. They had better things to do than to put up with my bullshit, as they called it back in the day. Just said, shut up, you're old man. So the old man, 3 or 4 hours it took him to drive his XC station wagon to Wang. Got in there, picked me up like a bag of potatoes, chucked me through the doors, put me in the car, and I knew I was in shit. I couldn't say shit, I just sunk in the seat all the way. It took another 4 hours to drive all the back to Thomastown, and he was fuming. He had flames coming out of his ears. Um, I was lucky he didn't pull up on the side of the road and just bury me, because that's the type of bloke he was. He was a no-nonsense bloke. And even if you explained to him why you did what you did, and he just wouldn't listen. So anyway, because I was only 13, I got told that if I run away from home again, the coppers told me I was going to end up in a boys' home, rah, 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 rah. I had to wait until, back in the day, I had to wait until I was 16, and there was rules and regulations how you left the family, so I waited till I got to 16. So there was another 13, 14, 15, another 3 or 4 years back with that family. All the abuse started once again. And abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter whether it's yelling, screaming, physical abuse, yelling. It's all abuse. And you shouldn't put any kid through abuse like that, because you're just mentally stuffing them up here for when they get older. That's how I've seen it anyway. So many years have got back to the house. All the abuse in the world started again. Didn't fit into the family. Didn't feel right. For wow, there must be a better world than this. And I waited till I was 16. I got a job. I stayed in the job for a while. Then a good friend of mine back in Thomastown's mother said to me, if you need somewhere to stay, you can camp at our joint until you get your own place. So I did that, and I walked up. This is before I shifted out of the House of Horrors, I call it, in Thomastown. I walked up, he was in the wood yard cutting wood, splitting with the block splitter. He was cutting up wood with the chainsaw. And I just cringed. I just said, can I talk to you for a minute? And when I say he was a hard man, you have to believe me, he was a hard man. He was even harder to talk to, when he was sober. You couldn't really reason with him because it was his way or the highway. Anyway, I told him that I was going to leave and be on my merry way. Well, that didn't go down too good. And I had to sneak out once again. I told him, and he said to me, I won't say what he said to me, more abuse, more yelling, more screaming. You're not leaving this house. You disgrace my surname, rah, 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 rah. And it went on from there. So I ended up getting out of there and leaving the House of Horrors, and went around to my mate's house and stayed there for quite a while. And then I lost my job. And back then, the only bit of money you could get was Centrelink. And you had to fill in the Centrelink papers stating that you're looking for work. And back then, don't forget, it wasn't much money either. I think I was getting about 130 a fortnight, not even. Back then, it was very little money for being on Centrelink. And I ended up losing my job and going down St Kilda and living down there for a while. And living on the streets, living it fast and rough. Met a lot of interesting people down there. Don't forget, I was only 16 and I was also very tall. I'll show you a picture of me as I was young, 13 here. That's me there when I was 13. Very immature, young, dumb, didn't know nothing. So you could, you stick out like dog's balls, excuse the expression. So I ended up going down St Kilda, trying to find somewhere to live. Now, back in those days, there was nowhere to live, so we lived in old houses. They were called slums, and it was just an old house that you'd be living in, and no furniture, no nothing, and that's how we lived, our street kids, because it wasn't just me down St Kilda. There was quite a few street kids down there, and you sort of learn the ropes. You sort of get mixing in with the rest of the street kids there, and they show you the ropes. I said to them, I've got no money and I don't know this and I don't know that, and they showed me the ropes down there. Now, it was back in the 70s. It was getting late 80s, early 90s when I was down there. It was back when the Skins and Punkheads were around. Now, Skins had shaved heads, they had Doc Martens, they had army pants, and the Punks had big hairdos. The Punks stuck with the Punks and the Skins stuck with the Skinheads. So, because I was a street kid and didn't know shit from clay, I stuck with the skinheads, and they showed me the ropes. I'll never forget it. They shaved my head and gave me a chucked one. There was one kid down there who's 4 years older than me. He said, come with me, I'll show you the ropes. And he was well known in the streets of St Kilda and Flinders Street. His nickname was Bam Bam. I know it sounds pathetic, but that's the way they named him, because he was much smaller than me, but real stocky. But he knew his stuff, eh? Anyway, I was lucky. He put me under his wing and looked after me and showed me the ropes, and showed me where all the places you can go down St Kilda for a feed. Down in one of the streets there's a church there. You have to be there at 12 o'clock, and you get a free feed. But you got to line up, of course. And just before 6 o'clock, there's a place where we could get pies and pasties. But you had to be there at a certain time or you missed out. And it was a colourful world down there, I tell you. This is back before they cleaned St Kilda up. So this is back when they had telephones all in a row when you went to... This is back even further. This goes back when you used to catch the train from the Flinders Street station into St Kilda. There used to be a train that you used to be able to catch. And then they made it in... Many years later, they made it into a tram. There's a tram that goes from Flinders Street all the way down to St Kilda now. But back in the olden days, I'd call it, there used to be a train. You'd hop off at Flinders Street and hop on a train and it'd take you out to St Kilda. Or you could catch a tram. Either way, it doesn't matter. You still got to St Kilda. But I'm going back like when there was punks and skinheads down there. And when it was rough as guts, there was a lot of shifty stuff going on down there. There was prostitutes, there was drug takers, there was hitman, there was, you name it, it was down there. And if you haven't experienced St Kilda for what it was back then, it was, there was pinball machines down there, shops, there was pizza shops. It was rough as guts, but it was exciting, and around the corner they had a white pub. It was called the Esplanade, I think. We used to go as young kids, go there, get drunk, even sneak in, all the punks would sneak in and the skinheads would sneak in, go through the back ways. And this was a colourful life that I was leading, and this didn't have to happen, but I couldn't live the way I was living in Thomastown. In a part of me, there was always something missing. I didn't feel like I fitted into that family, so I got out of that family and ended up on the streets. And I'm surprised here I am telling my story today, opening up people's eyes that about living it rough and those days on the streets And there's much more to my story to come from when I shifted down to St Kilda. And if you have a look through all my blogs, I tell you at different stages, all different stages of my story, and living it hard, as they call it, hard times. As another person said, hard times never last. And it's so true, because as you get older, you're supposed to get a little bit wiser, and you move on and you get help, you know. From where I am today, I never ever thought I'd be where I am today. I've got a beautiful partner that supports me. I've got all my um, case managers in to help me. Um, I've got my life sorted out, but all the trauma that I've been left with up here, that's why I've been left with critical PTSD. And for you people that don't know what critical PTSD, look it up. You do it on the internet, ask someone about what critical PTSD is, and they'll explain to you. That's why I ended up being an alcoholic too, guys. I used to drown my sorrows and not eat properly. That's why I've got all these critical problems with my health now. I've got to 55, I've got skin cancer, I've got a bowel disease, I've got pancreatitis. And for all these health issues I've got, if you don't know what they are, guys, look them up. That's why it's so important that you look after your body when you're young, when you're a teenager, so you don't get to your 50s and end up with all these illnesses, because it's no fun. When you get to 50, you're supposed to enjoy yourself. You know, you're getting older, you're halfway. As one bloke said to me, your life's like a football match. When you get half time, well, half your life's already gone. The rest of it's coming. So when you get to 50, I believe you should be thinking about all good things and how you're going to enjoy until the day you pass on. You know, go camping, go fishing, and just enjoy life. That's what life's all about. But when you've lived a colourful life like I have, and lived in all different circumstances, my life hasn't been easy. And as I said, I'm blown away that I turned 55, because I never thought I was going to get to 50. Alright guys, that's just some of my story talking about the old days and how I survived the House of Horrors. Alright guys, as I always say, be kind to yourself, keep out of the sun, and try to have a nice day.